You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market, from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the option block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tussaw from RCM Asset Management, Andrew the Rock Lobster Joe Vanazzi from OptionPit.com, and Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the option block.
All right, dudes and dudettes, it is time for the show of shows. No, not WrestleMania, the other show of shows. Yes, it's time for the option block, everyone's favorite bi-weekly source for all things options related. A little bit of wit, a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of analysis, a little bit of UA, some of your questions, a whole bunch of what's trading. Swirl it all together. You got the tasty, tasty stew. That is the option block. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-exciting Options Insider Radio Network, and so many ways for you guys to really get us. Of course, you can stream the full back catalog, our website, theoptionsinsider.com, or via our mobile app. Or, of course, just subscribe, your platform of choice. A lot of you like to do that, too. Your iTunes, your Pocket Cast, whatever you like, go for it. We don't judge. Or, of course, you can join us live via Mixlr every Monday and Thursday, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. Grab that link, set it once. You can always follow us in Mixlr as well. You'll be notified when we go live throughout the week, not just with this show, but with Volviews, but with Twifo, some of our surprise other shows throughout the week, our interviews and fun things. So you never know it's going to come popping up in that live feed. So grab it, follow us in Mixlr, and you too can know when the party is coming your way. And however you listen live after the fact, hit us up. We do like to hear from you guys, most of the time, usually, on occasion. All right, and joining me on the old program today to help kick this party off, let's see who we got. Let's spin the old all-star wheel. Oh, let's start off in the Water Garden, nay the pickle, nay the wealth management capital of the world. Yes, I'm talking about St. Charles, Illinois, where we are joined, surprisingly and appropriately enough, by Uncle Mike Tussaw from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the show, sir.
Always happy to be here on a beautiful Monday afternoon, the final Monday of July.
What are the odds that you would also land in the wealth management capital of the world?
It's amazing, I know.
Water gardens, pickles, and wealth, the three things that St. Charles is most known for.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, and also joining me a little bit farther from here, but I don't know what they do lobster. They do a little bit of clam and other types of fishing. They'd have ice rinks on occasion in the winter when it's not 70 degrees there. Yes, it is the Rock Lobster joining us from Option Pit by way of the land of Maine. Mr. Rock Lobster, welcome back to the show. How did your Sunday-Saturday show go?
The Sunday-Saturday show went really well. The clients liked it, just showing people how to fix trades, making trades a little less dangerous at the beginning, talking about position sizing, adjusting, different ways to adjust and fix things. And overall, I was quite thrilled that people showed up on a Sunday morning to listen to Mark and I talk, but they did. And it was, and it actually worked out pretty well, I have to say.
No danger. What fun is that, sir? You're teaching people how to take all the danger out of their trades. You know, you might as well just call it, you know, the boring pants school of trading over there in option pants. I almost said, and that could be a good name for you. Silly pants over there. As we keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block portion of the show where we break down what was, and in some cases still is, popping off on our trading screens today. Another kind of a similar story to what we saw towards the tail end of last week. Markets starting the day kind of undecided what they wanted to do, slightly up, kind of vacillating, no real big trend. And by the end of the day, finishing down off about a little more than 0.5% in the S&P, right around 0.5% in the Dow, and almost 1.5% out there in tech land. So yeah, tech stocks taking a shellacking, I believe, is a technical term, and all that red means VIX coming back up to about 14.25. Let's see how high we got in the cash intraday here. Got up to about nearly 14.5, 14.4. So we closed pretty near the highs there on VIX cash land, which all you VIX erosion fans will not be a fan of over there. Mr. Rock Lobster, are we now in zone -3? Is that where we're in now? Say goodbye to the fun.
We're finally out of 6. We're
finally out of zone -6. We've all been waiting for that.
Yes, it's zone 2. What I would call very much wait and see market action. We are closing on a 14 cash VIX. I mean, we were 12 at the beginning. What was it? Beginning of last week. Certainly not there now. We have a 15 handle in the August future. And I have to be honest, Apple earnings are coming out. They are destroying. Well, actually not. I guess they're just taking so much of the juice out of the social media stocks. I mean, Twitter went from 47 to 32. Facebook, 225 down to 170. Google 1,300. I'm starting to look at the 1,200 puts. They're selling some put spreads around the 1,200 level, even lower. You could probably get down to 1,150 and get some decent juice out of that stuff. So, wow, they are crushing big tech. I'm just going to call like the social media type technology companies. And on the flip side, you have stuff like ADNT is up $2 from its lows last week. So, I think the old technology is everybody's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe we'll sell some of this Facebook at a huge multiple, or even this Amazon at a big multiple, even though the earnings were okay. We don't care. This might be the top for all these big names. And we're going to look some stuff that's cheap that pays a dividend. It feels like everybody just got bit by that bug at the same time. From a VIX point of view, I think that August future is an interesting trade, an interesting VIX trade. It's getting there, because the VIX is more fun when it goes up, because that means that means it's farther that it can go down. So I'm trying to come up with an August trade for it. But the thing is, as you get closer to August expiration and the higher that future goes, that future premium usually gets less. It gets less and less every week, theoretically. So the trade becomes a little bit more interesting for a vol trade. So it's getting there. Hopefully, I'll have something decent for our vol newsletter this week. Definitely, I'm getting a little shellacking on some of the VXX puts I have, being a little greedy with the contango. But as far as, the opportunity goes, the curve is lifting everywhere. It's lifting in contango, which everybody's like, that to me actually shows I guess the simple thing is really not looking for a higher vol. It's not like that August future is trading 13.25 right now. It's trading 14.80. So there's still some premium in there. And at least for right now, it looks like it's going to stay that way. I would guess Apple would kind of be the tech catalyst. I don't see a huge range this week, so maybe like time spreads, double calendar, stuff like that. But by Friday, or I guess what the Apple earnings are, I don't know what you usually tell Tucson, like the 16th or the 17th of August.
Oh, he already missed them. They were last Tuesday. I don't know what you're talking about.
I knew it.
He's behind the 8 ball again.
So it's setting up for something interesting. I don't know, like today, tomorrow, interesting, but I would look at more of the time spready type stuff but I think a decent vol trade is setting up. And ultimately it's because the Qs are, all the Q stocks are doing crazy, I'm not going to say crazy stuff, but they're selling the crap out of them from all-time highs. So it's not, that it's in a healthy market, you need that to happen. So, but I think there is toes starting to dip in the water for maybe reloading on some of these stocks. I'm not quite there yet, but like I said, it's certainly very interesting. But from a VIX point of view, they're like, we're not quite ready as far as where VIX is trading relative to kind of this Q move. It's still, not quite. We're not quite sure if it's really as bad as everybody says it is, and we're not quite sure if it's over yet. So, I think we're in a little bit of a stuck area. Is that a technical term? Kind of a stuck, slidey sideways area here.
Stuck, slidey, sideways is definitely a technical term. That's one of the first chapters of any technical analysis book you see. The stuck, slidey, sideways chart. Mr. Uncle Mike, I know you're quite upset that you missed Apple earnings. You were so far off yet again. But outside of that, sir, what's catching your eye there these days, sir? And are you very sad that you really missed the earnings?
Well, besides the stuck, slidey, sideways chart pattern with which we're seeing right now, today it seems like tech is kind of taking a bath a little bit in comparison to the rest of the market, just overall. And looking at the sectors, that's the main downturn as of right now. Or the main down sector as it was today. I mean, industrials are down roughly 1%. Technology's down 1.5%. With it, energy is up slightly, but for the most part, with the market being down as it is today, a lot of it, you could say, is the fault of the tech stocks in general. We do have the real Apple earnings announcements coming up tomorrow, of course, and we can talk about those more on the show on Thursday, the results of it, what happened with them, that type of thing. But the thing that we did have an increase in vol today. And so it was interesting for me in that I was able to sell a put spread right before the close today, and I was excited about that. I was able to get a pretty nice fill on it at a pretty low level on SPY. Also in the marketplace today, we had relatively nothing happen with gold and silver. So not a lot going on there. The other thing that we need to continue to keep an eye on, also within, I guess you could call it the tech sector, is our beloved Bookface, or Facebook, whatever you want to call it, down another 2% on the day today. So going to be continuing to watch that one because, it went down 20% one day last week.
I thought I heard something about that, something about Facebook moving. I didn't really see which way, I wasn't really paying attention, so, kind of missed it. But in general, I did hear there was some news, some uproar, some hubbub about all things Facebook. I was joking, of course. Uncle Mike did not miss Apple earnings. They are coming out tomorrow out there, domani, after the close there. So let's pull up Apple, see what's cooking by way of our friends over there at the ORATs and their earnings move reports. Remember, you can find the Apple one is contained in the earnings move report for July 25th of 2018. So go find that on our website. You can see this ticker and about, a few hundred more just in that one report. You'll see that they were pricing in, looks about like $11.25, and Apple, of course, closing today $6.55. I was looking at the wrong one. $6.50. I thought that seemed kind of rich. $6.55. So about half the price. So we were just talking about the Apple closing today a little bit shy of 190, about 189 and change. Past expected moves. So what they've been pricing in previous moves. So what they've seen in previous moves actually is about 880. And this past actual moves, what they've actually delivered, is about 837, so pricing in 655. You can go out there and determine for yourself if you think that's cheap or not. Same quarter move, so this same quarter in previous calendar years, I think they go back about 4 years, within the last 12 quarters. Okay, so they go back 12 quarters, and this quarter in the last 12, it has, so again, a small sample size, but still it has moved $10.35 net in this period. Past year, so over the past calendar year, it has moved on average of $5.63. So there you go. Maybe two different frames of reference, two different data sets showing you a little bit different there. They're pricing it at about 23.5% coming in in terms of vol coming into this. Mr. Rock Lobster, any of your Any of your pit chat crazies loading up on some Apple ahead of this? They think this is cheap?
I don't think it looks necessarily cheap. We're gonna look at it actually today in our Gold Lab. We'll see. I think this is one of those Apple earnings that is looming like maybe a little bigger. Good earnings will be, I think, a big relief, at least for the queues. Probably turn the queues kind of dull for a little while, because it'll kind of right the ship from a market cap point of view. But we haven't added any of the crazy have added any real Apple here right now. So we're going to take a look at it and see how the earnings play out. But everybody's all of a sudden everybody's a little worried now about Apple earnings and how much the stock can move. Go figure.
Figure. Well, it kind of has this kind of little bit of even more of a bellwether feel than it usually does, right? Because we had a lot of big names. Oh, yeah. A lot of big names have already kind of turned us to the dark side. Now everyone's looking to Apple to save them. Maybe Apple can pull another one of their, selling off. Oh, we're terrible. We can't make any money. Oh, wait, we made all the money moves yet again, like they do every quarter. Somehow the analysts fall for it. Oh, we're terrible. We can't sell anything. We're canceling pre-orders of iPhones, canceling supplier deals. Oh, wait, we sold all the phones. So they do that every quarter. Somehow it works. So I can't really fault them. They've amassed enough money there to show that way works. Uncle Mike, is anything you've seen recently? I know you've been kind of, I guess the technical term is on Apple of late. Has anything caused you to change? Maybe the vol is cheap enough to lure you into buying some premium, or something's going on out there in Apple land for you?
No, nothing to. I mean, we still have a strategic night, so we still like Apple as a long-term hold. Overall, it's a very good company, but still waiting for the innovation index to. They set the bar so high that they'll never. I shouldn't say never, but it's going to be difficult for them to match changing the world. You can only change the world so many times, so it's hard for them to match that all the time. And I'm typically an index guy, you know me, but unless the company's going to change the world, or I feel they're going to change the world, then maybe I'll consider putting a hefty position on here, as I did 4 or 5 years ago with the fruit company.
Are you doing any hedging in the strategic night, against the strategic night, I should say?
No, we have our general hedge on the market in general and the hedged strategic night version of it, but it's just on the market as a whole. So we're not doing anything specific with it. It's one where, let's say Apple did take a dip like Facebook did. Let's hope that doesn't happen, but let's say in theory that we did, we would just hang on to it for the time being and see where we are from there. But for right now, it is a longer term holding. We do have the complete market hedge and the hedged version of it, but specifically to Apple at this point, we are just holding it.
That's the one thing. If you're hedging Apple with SPY, it isn't the worst thing. Apple moves so much of the SPY these days. So yeah, there are definitely we're talking large caps. You got a handful of those names. We had the number on the show recently, accounting for some ridiculous percentage of that index. So I guess if you're hedging in Apple with indices, not the worst thing in the world. But it is the worst thing, maybe, depending on your point of view, or it could be the best. Maybe you guys love and or hate Tesla. So let's get into it. So we talk about it in the odd block anyway. Let's just go there and we'll talk all our Tesla there in the odd block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody. That tunage means it's time for the odd block, the weird, the wild, the wonderful, the whimsical, the head-scratching portion of the show. We always kick it off with one of the more head-scratching names out there. You love them or you hate them. Either way, you guys love to hit us up about them all the freaking time. Yeah, it's Tesla. I don't know, Mr. Rockoff, you've heard of this name? Actually, I think they could be pronounced also Tesla. I've heard it called. Are you familiar with this name?
Tesla. I like that. Tesla, yeah, it is the maker of spiffy cars you plug into walls. You know what I actually saw first time ever? I saw a Tesla plug-in.
You saw one Tesla in Maine? Really? You saw the one?
No, I actually haven't seen. I think I've seen a Tesla on the road, but I saw one of their plug-in stations, and it was at a Wendy's of all places on Highway 1 on the way to Boston. Totally threw me for a loop. There it was.
The Wendy's in Maine has the sweet charging station, huh?
Well, I think it's Wendy's in outside of Boston. There's, but
that makes more sense. There's people there.
Yeah. There's some traffic on that road, but I just thought, there's just a random Tesla station there. Like, who provides the electricity for this Tesla station? You know, it actually opened more questions than it answered. Like, because it's, doesn't it cost money? They got to plunk these things around. When your Tesla runs out of power, where do you plug it in? You know, do you have all your Tesla fill-up stations, on the road? Does it go little blinky lights to tell you, you can get a burger and charge your car up? Again, many questions I had after seeing that.
You know who else has questions about Tesla, Mr. Rockhouse? I'm not sure if you saw this. It made all the news recently because people love talking Tesla and they love talking negative stories about Tesla as well. That gets a lot of ink. Our friend out there who they based the movie The Big Short on, famously shorted the housing bubble, the muni bonds, all that crazy stuff, or the mortgage bond, I should say, out there. And they made that movie out there with, I believe, Steve Carell and a few others out there. Interesting movie. Not bad, not fantastic. It's no Wall Street, but it's not certainly not terrible in terms of financial films out there. Well, he is now apparently short Tesla and making the rounds about it out there, talking it up on CNBC. Because that's what you do when you're short, right? You talk it up like crazy. So Tesla getting a little bit of renewed bearish heat. Of course, some talk about them calling up suppliers for some, shall we say, refunds. Help them boost some numbers there as well. So all of that kind of weighing on the stock. Shy of that magical, mythical 300 handle yet again, off about 7 handles today, or about 2.5%. So outpacing the NASDAQ by about a full percent to the downside. Closing right around 290 today. Before we get into the mystery puts, let's see. They have earnings coming up this week as well on Wednesday. Hence their calls to suppliers saying, hey, back off on us a little bit. Tesla, they're pricing in, again, according to our Matt and his team over there at ORAS, they're pricing in right about 1966 out there. In the past, they've priced in right about a little bit north of 20, about 2018, so they're a little bit shy of their average. Their actual projected moves, they're projecting about their actual moves, I should say, for recent earnings were 1721, so they're a little bit north of their recent moves. Again, the past actual moves actually measures, I have it here, all moves, the average of the past quarter moves, past 12 quarters moves. So that's past 12 quarter moves. They've averaged 17.21. And the same quarters, this quarter in recent years, they've only moved $8.22. So that's surprisingly light for all things Tesla. And over the past year, so past calendar year, they've moved $20.43. So that pricing in right about a little bit shy of 60%, 59.5 vol, and they're expecting it to drop to about 50 after earnings. Then again, you never know once the earnings come out. That'll tell us for sure. That's how much juice I think is baked in there just for the earnings bubble. So it could be a little bit rich out there, depending on your viewpoint, or perhaps you're looking at the past year, maybe a little bit cheap. Mr. Rocklop's, any slinging any Tesla for the Pit Shack crazies over there?
We haven't yet. I keep trying to find a decent way to short it with options. And every time I do that, the damn stock rallies like $25. It is totally uncanny. So I'm looking for my short, but wanting to add a decent call kicker just in case it blows up again, because it really does. I mean, it's been moving pretty substantially. Every time it just looks ugly, it bounces right back again. So I don't know if that's because of short interest or something like that, but it definitely is. It looks like it wants to go down, but every time it does that, it pounces right back up. So I've tried put butterflies are generally kind of cheap in there. I've tried that, and it's mostly I've been just losing small on the whole idea of it, and the calls kind of save me. I haven't made any money yet on the idea. So it's one of those, every time it sort of looks like that, I try it, and it's always a big mess. So at least for me, as much as I like to, fade it, I just think you need a really long time frame, and that's why people are trading these puts, or at least some of them.
Well, let's see if they were trading them again today. These are, of course, our old friends, the Jan 2019 50 puts. By the way, someone hit us up after the last show and said they were at or heard someone at a conference speaking, a hedge fund manager, who was talking about how they were buying up these puts and they were doing them against some of their Tesla credit portfolio out there. I'll have to go dig into that myself and see if that's legit. If that's the case, of course, I mean, that can make it much serious. I did see also that the premiums for CDSs out there on Tesla are skyrocketing as a result of all this recent bearish news. So the people who are selling those could afford to buy a few more of these 50 puts as well. Let's see if they did just that today. Yeah, they did, to the tune of 654 today, 62,000 open. So in the last couple of weeks, we've jumped actually more than 10% in that OI out there. It's about 56,000 or so. Now we're up to 62,000 out there in OI. Also worth noting the par puts in Jan. 1,400 of those trading today. Those are starting to catch up. 31,000. So it's almost exactly 1 by 2. We have people out here speculating whether this 1 by 2 is going up out there. Well, the OI right now on both, it lines up exactly like a 1 by 2. So coincidence? I'll put that out to you. I don't think obviously it all hasn't been 1 by 2s because the 50s have been trading for a long time. But I think maybe some of this recent paper certainly has the whiff of some ratios and some spreads about it. Also worth noting the Jan 2020 par puts, doing a whopping 1,000 of those today as well. 20,000 open on the tape. About 50 of the Jan 2020 50 puts. And 381, Mr. Rock Lobster, of the 10 puts in Jan 2020 going up today against open interest of 1,700. So yeah, I guess we can say crappy puts were alive and well today in Tesla, Mr. Rock Lobster. Would you agree?
I think every time we see these little 7, 8, 9, 10-point downdrafts in Tesla, everybody's like, you know what? You remember Fred Sanford on Sanford and Son?
Oh, the big one.
Oh, this is the big one, Elizabeth. It's coming. I keep wanting to channel Red Fox on that one. Oh, Lamont, this is going to be the big. And I think, right then when that happens, go buy a call. Because the stock's going to rip.
Stock's going to rip up.
It does have that feeling, that
it does. Well, people are still loading up on 10 puts for this January. So, there's certainly the crazies out there who could tend to agree with you. Meanwhile, let's roll on. What else caught our eye out here in the weird side of the business? Let's kick it off. I think a newcomer to the odd block, Adient PLC. This is, in case you're wondering, they're an automotive seating supplier. And let's see, they closed today 48.84, up about 30 cents or about 0.6%. This is the name that does about 1,200 contracts a day, so not bad for odd block volume, actually. Today doing 51,500, about 139 to 1 puts over calls. Pretty much all that paper coming in one massive trade on the SEP 40 put. Someone drawn a pretty aggressive line in the sand here, Mr. Rocklosser, but also doing it with stock. So putting some stock to work as well. 49,901 of the SEP 49 puts going up today for $2, smack dab on the bid. Also worth noting, they went up buy right with about 2.5 million shares, getting blasted out for about $49 right through the bid. So do the math, they're right around 50 delta puts, so it's right around delta neutral. And looking like someone doing some puts in stock here on the 49 handle, which is interesting because they're not that far out. Also worth noting, they're pretty much almost exactly at the time the stock went up. They actually were exactly at the money puts. So we don't usually see these kind of buy rights with straight up at the money puts. Usually maybe a little bit out of the money or something along those lines, give themselves a little bit of wiggle room. But he's not. This guy's not messing around here with these puts. Let's look here at the year that's been out here in Adient PLC. A year ago, they were trading $65, almost 66, and then they got as high as 86 back in October of last year. Kind of flirted with that level for a while, then started selling off right around the middle of January of this year, and kind of haven't really looked back ever since, getting down all the way to about 43 before they bounced recently back to where they are now, right around 48, 49 bucks. So size, puts, and stock, Mr. Rock Lobster. I'm selling puts, obviously, selling stock. What's your thoughts? This is a pretty sizable line in the sand, would you say? At the money line in the sand.
Yeah, I was just looking at this one. I'm like, it's one of these stocks I've never heard of it. What do they make? They make seats for somebody, right? But that's a pretty big. That is a pretty big sale, don't you think? Oh my gosh, the stock was $90 almost. So, it's one of those things. I see that and I go, people are like, you know what? We'll take the, $2 to September. That's some actual juice. What is that? 5%, 4%? Even if the stock does nothing, you collect the juice. So I can see how that would interest somebody at this level. It's funny that a lot of we're not going to call them, they're not even old tech, just industrial companies, that the market forgets when they're buying Facebook and everything else. Sector rotation is real. I'm sure Tusaw can attest to that. But, everybody's getting out of Facebook and some of these other names, Google, Twitter, all that, smacking the crap out of them, and they're buying other stuff. So, I mean, it certainly doesn't look like a terrible put sale, to be honest, given what's going on. They're smashing the vol. So, and I mean, the stock definitely has gotten a hit from an earnings perspective. It's one of those where it's, I don't know why it's selling so much less of what they were, making less money, but somebody's,
you like the stock leg? Would you do these?
It's a line in the sand.
Would you do these delta neutral with the stock? That's kind of the part I would probably maybe I'm hemming and hawing about a little bit.
Yeah, to me, I don't know if I would do this delta neutral. I would be more like a diagonal type of thing, maybe. Diagonal, or just like a kind of vanilla put spread that you would roll. But I mean, it's not bad. It's a $4 straddle for September for, this stock, but the vol's not high enough for me to want to do like a put in stock or, any kind of ratio. It's not super high vol, and the stock's doing one of those bouncing off the bottom things. So it gets me a little, I don't know if I really want to sell the gamut in that one. So it's almost like okay, I'm going to just keep rolling the puts and see what happens.
Yeah,
so,
I have a weird feeling he might be wearing down some of that stock leg, but we'll see. We shall see. Maybe we'll mark these, Mr. Rock Lobster. Put
maybe
them
a
in
light ratio. Do it light.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it straight up delta neutral. Maybe slight. Yeah, certainly not one. At least it didn't go 1-to-1. That would be
that would be too much.
That would be too much. Yes, technical term, too much. Let's see what else we got. A lot of A names in the odd block today. AK Steel Holding Corporation coming in next. Take a guess what they do. Ticker symbol AKS closing today, $5.36. So if the other one was a little bit too rich for your blood, we got you covered on the cheapies. Up 11 cents or about 2%. They have earnings coming up actually today after the market close. Let's see. Let's pull them up and see how they're looking. Meanwhile, let's actually I have it here. It looks like they're interesting. So before we get to that, what we saw today was a lot of, this is the name that does about 16,000 contracts a day, so decent volume. Today doing 65,000, about 2-to-1 calls over puts, but we actually caught our eye with the puts. In particular, some lots of sweeps of the AUG 5 puts. Paper, like these are expiring on the 3rd, so these are going out soon, going out this week for prices from 15 to 16, or even looks like about 16 cents. Looks like they're sweeping, mostly buying. Pretty much all buying. Big sweeps, 1,300 for 15 cents, 1,200 for 16 cents. Total of 13,000 going up on OI of just 2,500. So these are all opening. So someone coming in hard for these 5 puts here pre-earnings. Let's look back at the year that's been, see what's been up. This name was trading right about where it is now about a year ago. It's about 541, closed today at 536. So, but that doesn't mean it hasn't been a quiet year. It got down to $4, then rallied as high as 6.5, pushing 7 back in January, then kind of sold off again down to 430 or so back in May. So it's kind of had a 2.5 handle range or so over the past year. Kind of sitting right in the middle of that range right now. It's like someone, at least, a little bit spooked that these earnings may not turn out to be the best. Also worth noting, the 5 calls pretty active today too, about 10,000 of those going up as well. So we got trades kind of all over the place. Just the 5 strike this week, you got 23,000 contracts going up, puts and calls. So interesting stuff out here, but looks like in the after hours, doesn't look like a heck of a lot. It's off a penny. So not a lot tearing it up yet. Mr. Rock Lobster, size puts here, at least for this name here, AKS. A lot of at the money puts today. Maybe that's our theme of the day.
And in A stocks too.
At the money A puts in the A trading odd block.
I want to say that somebody is buying stock with these puts. I mean, suppose then we have what's been funny about all these tariff things, like all the businesses that were supposed to be helped by them, protection, this or that. They certainly haven't done a whole lot since these all these big tariffs or these let's call them conceptual tariffs went into place. I haven't seen. I just haven't seen that kind of action. I haven't seen the proof is in the pudding on that stuff yet. So this one just feels like I would like to think that this could be with some stock. So, they go up. A lot of size goes up on the Philly, which is usually a place where they cross some stuff. So it has that, I'm just going to say it has that look and feel to me.
I'm looking here. I'm seeing some blocks, but it's hard to tie it up. There's so many of these sweeps went up throughout the day, like 1059. I don't see any stock exactly. Some, yeah, not a ton though. So yeah, the stock going up today. Obviously, let's see how we did on the stock. About averages about 13 million. Did over 17 million today. So more, about 1.5 times, but not exactly a ton. Hard to go pin exactly each block. Not like the other one. A little harder to pin each block to each sweep of the puts. But you're right, it does have a bit of a, at least, or at the very least, they are already an underlying holder, and perhaps they're sweating. But this, I would probably maybe lean a little bit at the former more than the latter. Let's see, last, going to break our theme here for A's. Going out with the X's, in particular XME, S&P Metals and Mining ETF, closing today 36, pretty much even, off about 40 cents or about 1%. Same that does about 4,000 contracts a day. Today, doing 26, almost 27,000. A decent chunk of that love coming. Where was it? There we go. The AUG 37s, lighting it up to the tune of 4,379. Paper coming in and crushing those below the bid. The bid was 46. They came in at 45.2 cents. So a little bit aggressive selling there. Again, about 4,400 times. That's pretty much all the volume today on that strike. Only 300 some odd open, so it has the appearance of a bit of an aggressive sale there. About $1, not even $1 out of the money here. Let's look here really quickly at our chart of XME. This is the name. The year ago was trading about $31, 31 and a half. Got down to about 29 and change not too long after, then spiked up to 39.60 or so back in January. It's kind of been vacillating around between there and like 30, 33 or so ever since. Kind of again in the middle of that range right now, again, 36. And it looks like someone at least trying to take 45 cents off the table that is not going to break that 37 strike. Anytime between now and AUG, Mr. Rock Lobster, take us home. Looks like a bit of a you're straight up overwrite here, sir.
Yes, on this one. To be honest, I remember looking at XME a couple of years ago. It's one that still hasn't really recovered from the oil burst. I mean, I know the minerals is not exactly oil, but a lot of the commodities. I mean, they're still. I mean, it has definitely come back from the basement. However, it hasn't really made that full recovery to some of the highs that it did have a few years ago when it had all those high commodity prices. So I think that's a to be watched one, but. All of a sudden here, you see somebody selling 5,000 calls looking for yield, like, oh, market a little toppy. We're going to take our 1% and leave. That's when all of a sudden you're thinking, well, maybe the bull's a little tired until there's some reason to rally. So, but a very easy, but it looks like probably somebody scooped that stuff a while ago and they're taking a few bucks off the top.
Does have that feel. Now it's time for us to take a few questions off the top, as it's time for the mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the Mail Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Mail Block. This portion of the show where you guys ask us questions, but we ask you questions on occasion as well. We like to turn the tables on you guys every now and then. Let's see what we had here. We talked about some of your favorite ones here from last week, talking earnings, names, what you guys were trading. Amazon was the big vote then, so we thought we'd ask you again. Still earnings season, big names still popping off. Which names are going to dominate your options trading this week? Gave you 4 fun choices, kind of a running the gamut out there. Got your Apple, of course, got your Tesla, got your GoPro for you action cam aficionados, and got your CBOE for a little bit of you volatility options trading and options on options trading names fans out there. Let's kick it off. Uncle Mike, we'll start with you. What would your vote be if you have one? And then more importantly, what do you think our audience is voting for here? Apple, Tesla, GoPro, or CBOE?
Apple and Apple all the way. Got to go with the fruit company. Tomorrow's the big day.
Apple. Okay, interesting. Mr. Rock Lobster, you agree? You disagree? What's your feels on the issue, sir?
I'm gonna go with Tucson on this. Just Apple always wins. Just at least in this decade, it wins.
So far, it's not winning. Tesla in the early vote and taking it with 50% exactly of the early voting. Apple coming in with a third, 33%. Only 11% for GoPro. Only 6% for CBOE. No love for the CBOE out there. Again, it just went live about an hour or so before showtime. So you got the rest of the week to vote. If you haven't, listeners, head on over at Options. We'll bring it, back up again on Thursday. See how your votes have, changed here. Got people chiming in. Value Dissenter saying Tesla, yay puts. I wonder which side of the fence he could be on. Speaking of Tesla puts, got questions about those. Go figure. Ellen wants to know, when would you guys buy those Tesla Jan 50 puts? I would buy them when they're the stock's at about 51. Ellen, that's a good time to be buying those puts. No, I tease, of course, but we've joked many times on the show. Those could indeed be a bit of a bridge too far. If you're the average retail guy specking, you could probably do a lot better than just outright buying those puts. Again, we have seen them move. There is that Vega effect that kicks in. They've gone from about 30 odd to 50 odd cents all the way up to about $3. So they've had a nice range, even though they're a very low delta put. So it doesn't need all the delta action to kick in. The wings could kick in, the Vega could kick in. They have had some movement. So but that said, it would take a lot, and the stock would have to be threatening those levels, and then I'll probably come in. I wouldn't just outright buy those. I would do some sort of spread or something ratio, something along those lines. But I have to imagine an interesting scenario, starting with a stock somewhere around 51. I don't know, Mr. Uncle Mike, when would you buy those Tesla Jan 50 puts, sir?
I think he got hopefully he didn't get in any kind of an altercation with the pickle truck driver.
Yeah, someone was out there hawking pickles and water features, and he got mad at them. Mr. Rock Lobster, when would you be lured to the dark side on those Tesla Jan puts? Are you with me about 51, or would you be more like around 60?
To be honest, I think anytime Tesla, if it does again, like moves back into those mid 300s, that's a pretty tempting time, because I think at this point now, it's really hasn't made any new highs in a year. And it's mostly on the strength of just Elon Musk being able to talk it up, and then it goes down and he talks it up again. So that's usually kind of what happens. He kind of comes out and starts talking it up around 275 every time it gets there. So I would, wait until he starts talking it up again and the stock starts rallying. So I think you'll probably see one scare out of them. They still have not small issues with cash flow and stuff like that. So
when Musk talks up the stock and it starts rallying, that's when you want to buy those puts?
Yes, because you're just waiting for the eventual slow meltdown in the name's price. But
well, it's Jan, so it can't be that slow. It's not that far away now. It used to seem so far away when they were over a year out. Now it's you're within 6 months
I guess so. Aren't they also buying the 2019s as well? I mean, the 2020s?
They're also buying 2020s, yes.
Okay.
So, but I'm assuming she means the big ones, which are the Jan of this coming year.
Well, now you're starting to run out of time, I think, a little bit.
Exactly.
Those are more fun when you have like a year away and they don't really die. They just sit there like, kind of like a bump on a log. And then all of a sudden the vol goes up and everybody gets spooked. And that's usually when you dump that kind of junk.
Mr. Uncle Mike, we got you back there, sir, or are you still lost to the Water Gardens? Uh-oh. I think he's been
Gardens.
Yeah, you see those beautiful water gardens in St. Charles, you can't blame him. You want to pull over. You want to spend some time just running through the tulips and the lily pads there. Let's see. Put questions on people's brains today. LOO7 says, I think the market is top heavy here. Well, judging by what we've seen in the last few sessions, you're not alone. He goes on to write, what should I be looking at in terms of options trades? Oh, wow, that's a whole show. I mostly own SPY in my portfolio. Straight 5% out of the money puts or something else, he asks. So it'd be a good one to have Uncle Mike on, because he spends his whole day kind of rolling SPY puts and babysitting SPY puts and paying for SPY puts. So it'd be a good one to have him on, but the Water Gardens have spoken. We shan't lure him away from those. But yeah, this is obviously a difficult question to answer in the 3 to 5 minutes we have for this segment. But yeah, this is the kind of thing, Mr. Rock Lobster, where, a lot of the business, whether it's Uncle Mike or you guys or the guys over at Swan, a bunch of names out there, they spend a lot of their days, buying protection and then finding ways for pay for it. So that's kind of a course of study in and of itself. But that said, I don't think we've ever advocated here, unless the thing's melting off like crazy, just straight off coming in and buying out just 5% out of the money puts with nothing else against it. That's usually a road to not quite ruin, but long-term nickel and diming yourself to death as those things erode slowly. So something else, even a basic spread, would be a good first step. Identifying what range you're worried about. You're worried about an apocalyptic meltdown? You don't really say here. You just say it's top heavy. So you think it's going to sell off a ton, sell off 10%. What are you expecting? That would probably be a good frame of reference for where to work your put spread. Again, the guys ask us these questions. The devil's in the details. The more details you give us, the more we can help you with this stuff. Mr. Rocklops, you probably get questions like this time and again over there in the land of the pit. Someone comes into the chat room, they're like, I think the market's overbought. I want to buy a put. What should I do? What do you tell those people? And usually they have that accent for some reason. I don't know
why. So as far as those puts go, I always say like put spreads or something like that. Instead of just those, those junk out of the money puts. So there is a little potential, but I think everything you're going to make really is on a Vega game when everybody gets spooked, and that's kind of the shot. I mean, it's hard for stock that's $300 to go to $25. I mean, I'm not going to say it can't happen, but that takes some work in 6 months. Considering it's it's for the most part, at least they're claiming a viable company right now.
Yeah, that would take some doing there on these puts. Let's see. We got time for one. Oh, Uncle Mike, are you there, sir? Oh, I thought he
I hope he didn't run into a pickle truck. There he is.
You are there. You live.
I live. Me and the pickle truck had some issues, but I think we got them resolved.
Well, glad to have you back. You missed our two recent questions we just went through. Someone asking us, Ellen asked us, when would you be interested? What would make you pull the trigger on buying those Tesla Jan 50 puts? I joked that when the stock was 51, but you may have a different take on that. And then we had LOO7 writing in saying he thinks the market's top heavy here. He says he mostly owns SPY. What should he be looking at for hedging? Should he just buy straight up 5% out of the money puts or something else? I figure you have a lot to say on the latter there. I don't know about the former, because you kind of spend a lot of your day babysitting, rolling, and paying for puts and SPY. So maybe we'll start with that second one first. What do you have to say to Lou? Should he be buying 5% out of the money puts and SPY right now?
I don't know if I'd necessarily be doing that. Opportunity not to SPY. Our closest hedge in SPY right now is too small for right now, and it's a little bit longer term. But with that, I believe that at this stage, what I would be is more along the lines of doing a spread, lines of say 265. But I'm of the school that I like this market at this level. I would love to level. So,
well, we're having some problems here again with Uncle Mike here. Let's see if I can get him sorted out there really quickly. You know, they added all these upgrades to this system, which makes it harder to do all the things that I want to do, like reconnect with people and all the other fun stuff that used to be so easy. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. Mr. Uncle Mike, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
All right, that's a little better now. Yeah. So yeah, we kind of heard some of what you were saying. I was breaking up a little bit. Sound like you said you'd buy a spread, which is kind of what I said for you. I kind of put words in your mouth while you were gone before. So really quickly, break down what kind of spread you kind of said, what kind of all the money you liked. It's the second he starts talking. The second he starts talking is when it all goes to hell. All right, yeah. So he's pretty much what we said. I don't think you've ever heard anyone, unless a stock is really melting down pretty hard on our network in general, come out and advocate straight up put buyings. Usually that road doesn't really work out very well. But again, unless things are melting down, that's a different story. But in general, spreads are kind of the way we want to go. If you have specific range in mind of the SPY you're looking to hedge or cover, let us know. We could adjust our recommendations and our thoughts therein. Meanwhile, though, we got to keep on rolling. Maybe we'll see if we can get Uncle Mike sorted out for our final segment. It is time for Around the Block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Around the Block. This is indeed the portion of the show where we tell you what we're watching for the rest of this week. Like I mentioned, some big names popping off. We got Apple after the bell tomorrow. We've got Tesla, or as Rock Lobster calls it, Tesla, on Wednesday popping off. Got some other big names. Again, go to theoptionsinsider.com, search for the earnings move reports, and you can see exactly hundreds, thousands of names there they've broken down for you in terms of what's coming up, what they're pricing in, what you can expect, all of that good stuff there. Meanwhile, let's go back around the horn. Let's start with the Rock Lobster. Sir, what are you watching out there for the rest of this week?
Well, if that big fruit company, I think we're either back over 180 or we're below 170 if it disappoints. And I think it's setting up for a pretty decent opportunity in the vol products, because after that, I mean, what do we have for earnings left? We have a couple of Trump tweets, but it looks like this whole trade thing is kind of backpedaled. So I think we actually are setting up for a fairly decent, it wasn't the signal that we had last time, but I think just kind of a vol apocalypse, but the other way, maybe a drift back down to 12. It's not going to be huge unless we see a lift, but that's it. I think after the Apple earnings, that's going to pull the last pin on vol, unless they're horrible or they disappoint everybody. And then we could actually see, we could see the Qs drift quite a bit lower.
Going to pull the last pin on vol to the upside or the downside? You lean in any particular way?
As of right now, no. Probably into the Apple earnings, I'll probably lean a little short vol, probably VXX puts or something like that. And maybe buy just a little bit of upside protection. Maybe Q puts, I'm not quite sure yet, or SPY puts. Because if VIX does fall apart, you could see like the 12 handle again pretty easily. So there is some potential in VXX to get back to 30. I mean, we're trading in the 32s now. So, there's a little bit of move in there. So that's when it's more fun.
It is more fun indeed. It's also more fun when we got Mr. Uncle Mike. Let's try him one last time. Mr. Uncle Mike, can you hear us, sir?
I'm the fruit company as well. I think that's what everyone's doing now.
There you go. We heard that. He's watching the fruit company, Mr. Rock Lobster. So everybody's got fruit and indeed fruit salad on the brain. All right, everybody, that music means we did it. We made it through to the end. We had another epic journey through the world of options. We talked some VIX, talked some Apple, talked some Tesla, talked some SPY puts, talked more Tesla puts, talked a bunch of funky A-name tied options and all kinds of other fun stuff on the show today. But before we go, let's go back around the horn. I will save him the indignity of trying to do it. If you want to learn more about what Uncle Mike is up to, you want to have him roll your puts for you, do all that other fun stuff, head on over to stcharleswealth.com and tell him you like the Fox. He's all worried about the Fox. I think the Fox is good. You tell him what you like it. stcharleswealth.com to learn more. And Mr. Rock Lobster, if people want to do Saturday things on Sunday and have their worlds all topsy-turvy, where should they go? What should they do?
They should go to optionpit.com, look at our new events page. We will have a new Made Easy series soon, and it will be long gamma made easy, but it'll also be titled Getting Your Juice for Free. So ways to buy gamma with positive theta. You heard it right now. It'll be mid-September, and it will probably change the way you trade options.
There you go. I've only been telling you to do that webinar for what, 3 years now?
Maybe 4.
Maybe 4. Put it in book form. Get your juice for free. I mean, you got so many things you could do with that. I did the branding for you. I did everything for you. All you had to do was put up the pesky charts and slide. That's easy work.
Exactly.
So check. When's that? Mid-September. That's coming.
Mid-Sep. Yep. You
got anything before then we can look forward to?
Well, we've got our Vol newsletter, our breakout bulletin, our wheel, and all the stuff that's happening at Option Pit. You could pop over and also pick up Fixing Terrible Trades. If you have a problem with risk control, easiest way to do is learn how to do it right, not get in trouble in the first place.
There you go. Fix your garbage trades. Head on over to optionpit.com to learn more. And sometime in September or so, you too can get all your juice for free with the Rock Lobster. And on behalf of the aforementioned Rock Lobster and Uncle Mike, who's off checking out a water garden somewhere, and indeed myself, I want to thank all of you out there for downloading, streaming, subscribing, all the fun stuff that you folks do out there. We love you all, and we'll see you back here on Thursday for more of the Option Block.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.